Hi, everyone. This is Shirley Young, and welcome to Build a Wealth Strategy and Mindset Expert Talk Series, where we're going to talk about proven strategy to build wealth, pay off debt, and live more fully. I'm thrilled to have today's guest here with us. She is a sought-after money and wealth expert, speaker, and author of the Wealth Chef book. I'd like to introduce Ann Wilson. Ann helps people all over the world to become financially free by sharing her simple recipe for wealth. After 21 years in a very successful career as a civil engineer, working all over the world on huge infrastructure projects, Ann soon realized that this wasn't the way to real sustainable wealth, and certainly not the path to the financial freedom she dreamt of. Ann is an expert on how to improve your relationship with money, get out of debt, invest easily, and make your money work hard for you, so you know with certainty that you will be able to stop working and not just survive, but live a life you really love. Welcome, Ann, and thank you for being on this interview series with us.
Oh, an absolute pleasure, Shirley, and such a delight to be here, just sharing about this topic called money.
Yes, thank you. And, I know that you had a great career in the corporate world, and you had a great transition. You've actually is a living proof of financial freedom right now, and you're teaching this. If you can tell us a little about yourself and what you do, where you are now.
Yeah, how the hell did I get to this point where I can live life fully on my terms? Absolutely. And Shirley, I think, as a woman, money is one of the areas we've come so far as women in terms of, let's call it our liberation, our advancement in terms of our careers, the kind of things we get involved in. And I grew up with a very ordinary family financially. We weren't poverty-stricken, but certainly money was, I was certainly told money didn't grow on trees and those kind of things. But, we also didn't really talk about money. It was something. Dad went off and worked really hard. Mum looked after these 6 kids. I'm number 5 of 6 children. And
wow.
I was very much taught the recipe of study hard, go and get a good job. And then, beyond that, well, who knows? Hopefully it would all somehow magically work out. There was no real discussion of what did you do once you had earned this money. And so I thought, well, that's the recipe. And I watched my father working really hard and thought, okay, it's all about working really hard. But then I got to my early 20s and my father died, and I got to watch my mother, who had never, ever had to handle the day-to-day stuff of money, let alone actually have to think about and handle the aspects of how do you make sure money stays in your life? How do you make sure it grows and that it can look after you? And I saw this absolute anxiety and stress and worry that came from financial ignorance. And none of us could help her because we were all clueless as well. And that worry of how to make sure that the small pot of money that had been left lasted and that hopefully she died before the money ran out. And it sounds so barbaric, but this is the way so many people live. And then I looked around and saw so many other women in a similar position, either through divorce, through the spouse dying, or never having got married, and maybe were working hard. But I realized there was this underlying anxiety and stress and worry, and I vowed that I never wanted to be in that position. And, as a woman, we've got so much more choices now. So, okay, absolutely. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to work hard and get a good job. So that's why I went and studied civil engineering, thinking, well, this will be great. And, it was a great career for me. But all I was focusing on, which is most of us have taught, was how to earn money, not how to get money working hard for me. It was very much this recipe, which the entire world is structured to make us good workers. And I truly believe that a lot of the financial industry and around the world, maybe there's a bit conspiracy theorists, but it's been in their interest to keep people ignorant financially because it keeps people just slogging away at this earning rat race, going out and working. And one of the things I realized on my journey is that income is actually the least important ingredient in our journey for wealth. And that might sound completely controversial. We absolutely need that income. We need to get money starting to flow to us. But unfortunately, most of us stay fixated in thinking that is the key. That if we can just earn more, if we can just bring more in, then we'll be okay. But it's that very focus which keeps people trapped. But not knowing that myself is exactly where I launched off, thinking, okay, get a good job. And I did, and money started flowing, and I thought, fantastic, I've got this money thing sussed. Because not only was I earning money, but money was coming in every way, because I was told I could have the credit card, the overdraft, the store cards, I could go and get the car loan. And I thought, wow, this is brilliant. But even there's a deeper level, which looking back, at the time I didn't really realize, but I realized there was this underlying script that actually told me that I needed to go into debt, that I needed to have that overdraft, that credit card, the car on the car loan, go and buy the apartment with a big mortgage to be successful. That as though that was the way it was, because I was told I could have it now, pay later. And so I bought into that, again, from ignorance, because I had no idea the power of compounding. I had no idea about understanding how money really worked and why debt is so powerful, why everybody wanted me to be in debt, because he who has the debt has the power. And unfortunately, most people end up having that power being worked against them, the power of money, because money is exceptionally powerful. And I was no exception. And so I got to my late 20s, and despite working hard, having this career, all of the joy out of working, earning money, and also my dreams and everything that I'd hoped to do as a result of being financially independent, felt like they were drifting away. And I thought, oh my, maybe this is what it means to be grown up. Does this mean all the things that I want to do I can't do? Because now I was working for everybody else except me, just to stay ahead. And that very vulnerability and that anxiety I was so determined to avoid was now sitting in me like a big lump and this rock inside of me, because I knew that if for some reason I lost my job or if I couldn't earn, I couldn't survive and maintain that lifestyle for more than a couple of weeks. And I got to a point in my late 20s when I realized that this isn't the life I wanted to live. And that if I wanted to live life differently and on my choice, I had to claim back my freedom. And that would mean doing something radical. And radical means not following the script that everybody else is following. And dig deep. And, breaking out of that debt does require work. It requires a different focus. But because I focused on the freedom that it would gain me, because I focused on the life it would return to me in my dreams, it was actually easy. And this is such a key lesson that I learned in my journey. If we can focus beyond the short term, it's about deprivation or about being frugal, and go, no, it's actually about giving myself the gift of choice again, we're able to do so much about reclaiming that power. So I managed to break free of that debt, and it was fantastic, because then it was like, wow, I can now go and do things. And I got rid of all of those consumer liabilities, and I had some money available. And so I got married in that time. I went to my husband, great, we can go and travel. And so I did. I'd always wanted to travel. And I got to Hong Kong, and you were mentioning Hong Kong earlier, and I went, wow, what a great city. I'd love to see if I could get a job here and work here. And because I wasn't tied down now by these debt obligations, I had that freedom to make those choices, and I managed to get a job. And I thought, wow, now I've got this money thing sussed. Never again am I going to go into debt, and now I'm going to save as much as I can, because I've read some of the books, and everything says you need to save, you need to spend less than you earn. And I actually got that. I said, now I've got it. And so money started coming in again. But all that happened is I went from one extreme to the other, because I still didn't understand how money truly worked. And so I spent as little as I could. I saved as much as I could. But it all came from an energy of deprivation, about no. It was more like if I could not only control the money, but if I could control me, that and all the wants and needs I had. And so it all became about what we couldn't do, what we couldn't have. And so stress started coming up in the marriage, fights about money. And I had no idea how much was enough. It was as though I was trying to save, and I only knew about saving to try and keep this money in my life. But I had no idea when was that point, when was enough, when could I start living the life I wanted to do, when could I do fun, juicy things again? And so the only thing that could happen happened. It all blew up in a big, messy money drama where both the money that I was holding on to so tightly and my marriage both walked out the door. And there I was now in my early 30s, back at zero again, feeling, wow, that was spectacularly unsuccessful. You know, how by this stage, how I've been working 11, 12 years, had nothing to show for it except being a divorcee and feeling, you know, really alone in a foreign country. And I'll be completely honest, I did sit on my pity potty for a while, feeling sorry for myself. But then I thought, hang on, there must be a way, there must be somewhere in between that I can feel supported and confident and have money staying in my life, but I can also do fun things. I can live a rich, juicy life now and have money growing. I thought, you know, and I looked around, I saw people out there, I started reading books about people who are doing amazing things, contributing a lot to the world, and it was really key, starting to get it, that there were people out there doing that. And also started reading books because I realized nobody pops out the womb a financial genius. When I look back on my journey, I realized I'd gone to school for X number of years. I'd gone to university to study for a career, how to earn money, but I'd actually spent no time learning what to do with it. So started my journey of discovery, a very conscious journey, and started learning about investing. And this is such a key distinction for me, Shirley, and I think anybody listening here is really important. That first distinction, income's not the most important thing, but what you do with it. The second distinction was nobody saves their way to financial freedom. Now, that might sound radical because we all know the importance of saving, allowing some of that money to stay in our lives. But just saving, just spending less than we earn, and stopping at that point will never get you to the point where your money can earn income for you. You know, my goal is for every single person to achieve the place that I've now got to, where I have enough assets that can earn income for me, that I can choose to work actively or not for income, and still maintain the lifestyle that I choose. And this is the place of financial freedom. But it's only assets that can do that for you. So just holding on to money isn't enough. You have to convert that money into these things called assets, which can work for you, which can go and expand and get all of the way that money wants to work. Money wants to grow. It wants to expand, but it can only do that in the right environment, in the right form. And that's where so few of us are taught how to create that. And so this was really key. And so I started my journey and I started getting better and better. I learned about investing in the stock market. Then I got involved in investment property. And I also made absolutely certain that I was really clear on what wealthy was for me, what really juiced me up in my life. And I made absolutely certain that I gave my money great leadership. So I directed my expenses in a way and to things that I really loved. And so I had a great life, and I still do, while I was growing my wealth pots, while I was creating my financial feast. And I achieved my own financial freedom in 8 years from that day of starting from zero on my own again. And, you know, I share that for people to see that it doesn't have to be this journey that takes forever. But I share it with not reservation, but because whether it takes us 8 years, 10 years, 15 years is irrelevant when we know that we're on the right path and when we're having a ball and really enjoying the journey. Because I think this is a key thing as well. A lot of people get fixated on, okay, they've now got to get to the point of they're financially free, have the size of the asset pot they need, and can forget to live a great life.
Yeah, no, I agree
while
with
they're
you.
on that path. Because that's the difference between just being rich, say having money in the bank or in assets, and actually living a wealthy life. Yeah. But when you know that you've got a plan, you understand the recipes, the core components that are in it. So it was really, once I achieved my own wealth feast, it got to me to the next point going, wow, I saw so many people around me still feeling anxious, not living their dreams, worrying about their future. Are they ever going to be able to put their kids through schooling? When will they be able to stop working, if ever? If they do, are they going to have to rely on other people? And so I started sharing what I was doing, firstly just with my family and friends, then with my staff. That I had pretty big teams by that stage in my corporate life, and I would start running workshops. And then I realized that this is just absolutely what not only that I love doing, but it felt like a deep, deep calling in me. And that's when I realized, Anne, you've been given this gift of learning how to do this. And it's time that you share this in a bigger way. And at the same time, I thought, wow, what an adventure for me to also learn a whole other area, another key asset group of how to create a sustainable business, which in itself has assets that can keep growing and expanding so that I can do more and contribute more. And that's when I decided to leave my engineering career and start the WealthChef company. And it's just been an amazing journey. And I'm incredibly privileged that I now get to speak and help and speak around the world, and through the book and through my online programs, help literally thousands of people just change their financial destiny, let go of that anxiety, start understanding how to invest, break free of debt, and have a really great financial plan in place that they feel confident about, that they can integrate in their life easily, break through all the jargon, and just get on with living the life that they're meant to have. So that's how I got to this point, Shirley. A bit of a long answer, but there we go.
No, it's an amazing story you just provided, and it's unbelievable how you got to where you are, and that's very inspiring for sure for many people they're stuck in the financial situation they can't get out. Do you have a wealth building system, and how people can start, or where to start if they want to?
Absolutely. And, through the WealthChef book and my other programs and on my own journey, I discovered what I now call 5 core recipes for wealth. And by learning these and implementing them in your life, I believe financial freedom is guaranteed for absolutely everyone. Because on my journey, Shirley, when I started off, I was still looking for that silver bullet, that one hit wealth event, maybe that one investment or that one business or that one property that would hopefully fill up my asset pot, and then I'd be done and dusted. And, I fell for some of those get-rich-quick schemes because our media and our society, they celebrate. You hear about that business that was sold for millions or the lottery win. And it's very easy for us to think that creating our wealth is an event. It's a bit like, getting that gold medal at the Olympics. But just like getting that gold medal at the Olympics or that person who sold their business, it's the backstory, it's the process that is so important. And after kissing a couple of those wealth frogs, it never turned into the wealth prince. But they taught me a big lesson that creating sustainable wealth and financial foundations and confidence around it is about habitual habits and doing these 5 core things habitually in your life. And the great thing about that is you can integrate them into your life of habits. Now, initially, it does require work to learn some new things, learn some new language. But so firstly, you've got to understand that the 4 ingredients of wealth and of money and how they work together. So we've mentioned income. It's absolutely vital. You've got to have money flowing into your life and just get that flow. But you've got to look at your expenses. How is money flowing out of your life? Are you getting value from every bit of money that's flowing out of your life? Is it really serving you, and is it meeting your short-term needs right now, your intermediate needs, and your long-term needs? So that's really getting clear of those expenses. The next sort of ingredient are these things called liabilities. Now, they are the debts that we've spoken about, because sometimes we need to go and use debt. But so debt in itself isn't bad. It's not the devil or the evil out there. But it's very, very powerful, and so we have to use it consciously. It's a bit like using salt in our cooking. We don't want to overload it because it can destroy the meal. So, for example, a lot of us, when I went and studied, I needed to get a student loan and maybe the first mortgage. So when we're very clear about it and we understand it, We can do it with consciousness as long as we put together a plan of knowing how we're going to eliminate it from, because when we understand that liabilities drain wealth from our life because they increase our expenses. And so both your expenses and your liabilities are making wealth flow out of your life. But when we can use these levers with consciousness is key. And then the final ingredient are these juicy things called assets. So, and this is where money can now work for us. And these key 4 asset groups. The first one is investing in equity. This is where you invest through the stock market by owning a piece of somebody else's business. That's all investing through the stock market is. You get to own a piece of somebody else's business, and you benefit from that increasing business's value as well as the income that business creates without you having to pitch up for a day's work. Your money's doing your work for you, which is great. The next one is investment property. This is not your personal property that you live in, but your investment property where other people can pay you income and where you also can gain from capital gains of that property growing in value. The third one are passive income businesses, things like internet-based businesses or businesses where you use other people's time, other people's money, systems and processes to earn you money, and where you break out of that exchange of your time for money. That's the key third asset group. And the final asset group, which for me is the most important asset, is ourselves. When we realize that we are our greatest asset, and the more we can master ourselves, the richer and wealthier the lives we can create. Not only by expanding our knowledge of the other asset groups and how we're handling money and how to bring more income in, but also this absolute mastery of self, where we can really get clear of what wealth is for us and claiming back our own identity and our wealth identity rather than floundering around at sea with the media and advertising everybody else telling us what life we should be living, what clothes we need to have or house we need to be in or car we need to drive in order to feel successful and wealthy. And so the more we master that, the greater our wealth journey is. So when we understand these ingredients, we can start putting them together. And then we start working on these 5 core recipes. And the first one is what I call wealth pie. It's about going with every dollar that comes in your life, every bit of money you bring in from any source, how do we carve that up to meet all of these different needs? And when we have a simple system in place and we master that, so that's about making sure some of that money stays in our lives and gets converted into assets. Some of that money gets converted and stays in our life for medium-term things that we need. So that's our save to spend. And Wealth Pie all directs how we carve up that money. And that's a system we implement. Then we go to the next recipe, which is all about expanding that dough. And in that recipe, I teach people how to start getting money working for them. First in the stock market, and I truly believe the stock market is the first place people should start is by expanding and creating that asset group, because it's the easiest asset group to get invested in. For $30 a month, surely people can just start learning about this. Because again, so many people go, oh, well, when I've got money, then I'll start. But we keep deferring our financial lives. And when we understand that money needs time and this thing called compounding working, and so the sooner we start, the faster money can work for us. And by we can put in place automatic investment strategies in the stock market, which are simple, safe, straightforward, and start creating this habit. So that is the second recipe of starting to get these assets growing. The third recipe is all about blitzing that debt, putting it in the blender and getting rid of it forever. And I'm specifically talking about consumer debt. And again, when we've got a structured approach, and I've got a very, very structured breaking free from debt recipe where we can put that plan in place, automate it, and we can celebrate it. We can get excited about, because every little bit of debt we eliminate from our life increases our net worth. And what our net worth is just all of your assets, this money that's working for you, minus your liabilities. These are these things that are working against you. And it's the net sum of those two. And your basic goal, your only focus in terms of your financial well-being and your financial journey should just be focusing on your net worth. Because if your net worth is increasing each and every month, then you know that all the other components of your wealth plan are working. So every little bit of debt you eliminate increases your net worth, and you celebrate Shirley, I also break down in the wealth recipes the intermediate milestones, because when we first work out what our financial freedom target is, how much is enough, it can sometimes feel like overwhelming. It can be, oh my God, I can hardly get off the couch right now, and you want me to climb to the top of Mount Everest. And that can be really overwhelming for a lot of people. So there are intermediate milestones. And one of the really key milestones to get to is what I call absolute zero. This is where our net worth is a big fat zero. And you might find, Anne, why does it sound like you're smiling? It's because I am. This is such a sexy point to get to. And a lot of people forget to celebrate at that point, because this is the magic gateway where you go from a negative net worth, where you've got more debt in your life, to positive net worth, where you've got more assets in your life. And money rarely celebrates. So this is about blitzing that debt. And then the fourth recipe is about protection. And we were speaking before the interview started about the importance of having your defense. About while you're building your financial freedom is making sure you understand what are the things that can protect you and those you love while you're still growing your asset pot and protect those assets. And so these are key insurances, things like life insurance, property insurances. But so many people also don't fully understand the role of insurance. And they get confused by thinking insurance, or not just confused, they're often sold it by the financial industry, telling them an insurance can also be an investment. They're like oil and water. An insurance is never an investment, and an investment is not an insurance. They are two separate things and need to be kept separately, but we need to understand that role. And so that fifth recipe is all about getting that defense in place, protecting yourself and your assets. And also understanding a lot of things like life insurance, they're only a stopgap. They're only there for while you are building your asset pots, because your goal is to get to a point that once your asset pots are big enough that they can earn you an income, you no longer need life insurance. Because a lot of people are completely overinsured when it comes to life insurance because they've been sold those based on fear. So again, when we can come from an empowered place, when we understand what these insurances are for, we can understand the right amount we need, we can go and shop for them far more savvily, get them far cheaper, and so we can have more money to direct elsewhere. So that is the fifth recipe. But also just with protections, I also cover key wealth documents. And this is understanding the roles of wills, powers of attorneys, and living wills, and why they are so important. You might say, well, and what the hell has that got to do with money? But they are part of this set of things that make up your whole financial well-being strategy. So this is also to ensure that those you love are okay if something were to happen to you. And these are all of the things that allow us to sleep easier at night, to spread our wings a bit wider, because we know we're okay. Because so much of this financial anxiety and the conflict we have in relationships just comes from this anxiety of uncertainty, of not knowing what might happen, worrying about tomorrow. And when we've got all of these things in place, we can let go of that worry and get on with living a great life. And then the final recipe is really this recipe about self-mastery, mastering our language, our thoughts, when we realize that how we can use this incredible tool, our own minds, to design and create the life we really want. That's when magic absolutely explodes. And so it was the combination of those five is what I teach, and in the Wealth Shift book and the programs, but people can get from my website, but also really from me, what I realized was the combination that created for me this financial freedom and continues to expand in my life.
That's wonderful. And you know what? You've broken it down very easy to understand and how to follow. It's like cooking a recipe. Definitely. It's very fun way of doing it, So, you mentioned the system, and before you do the system, one thing is about mindset. How do you build a good mindset when you're trying to reach that financial wealth? Because if you have the system, so how do you get there? Because a lot of time it's our thought, and thought is action, right? And so what are some of good mindset that you need?
Yeah. You've hit the nail on the head, because creating your own financial freedom, becoming great with money, is actually only 20% technical skills. the skills of investing on the stock market or, getting clear on your debt busting strategy. And those are learned skills. 80% of it is behavioral. It is mindset. And the first key thing is to believe that it is possible to create abundant wealth. You might say, but Anne, how do we believe? And in a weird way, we've almost got to just keep working on that belief. And that belief can be consciously going out and seeking examples of other people who have done it. And it's really being absolutely ruthless, and I use that word consciously, ruthless about the information we let ourselves absorb and what we choose to focus on. And this can be from managing the people we choose to spend our time with. And sometimes we can't necessarily choose all of them, our family, but being very cognizant and also about who you share your dreams with. Because our dreams are incredibly delicate, precious things. And sometimes we've got to be very conscious about when we start on these journeys about protecting our confidence, going, okay, you know what, I'm going to learn about money. I'm going to start investing. I really do see that by learning some skills, I can do this. It's so important to surround yourself by other people who also get that, who also believe in a greater vision of life, who believe that they can expand it. Because if we go out there, and this is so key from my journey, we go, okay, I'm going to start investing in the stock market. I'm really excited. And if you're not careful about who you share that with, the first thing you know is going to be somebody who's going to go, oh my God, that's so dangerous. I know Auntie Mabel and Uncle so-and-so lost all that money. No, that's dangerous. That's scary. Well, who the hell do you think you are? Why do you think you should be able to do that? And before you know it, you're a blathering idiot hiding back in your corner going, why did I dare step out of that crash consciousness? I'll just go back to my gray, boring life. So finding a community, listening to interviews, series like the ones you're having, Shelley, find forums online, join Facebook groups, share with people and find your tribe who get it and who also believe in the possibility of an incredible world. And this is so important. That's going to really important mindset. Choose the books you read. Switch off the news. Don't stare on all the disastrous things happening in the world. And slowly, slowly, this will expand. In my programs, one of the first things I get people to do, and you'll see in the Wealth Chef book, is to get people to absolutely create their big why. Why mastering money is so important to them. If we don't have a big why, Shirley, it's almost impossible to do the things we want to do. Whatever goal we set for us, if we don't understand why creating this goal is an absolute must, then life happens and we'll be easily battered off that path. My own goal, and I, shared a little bit about my why. Early on, I vowed that I never wanted to be like, in a position like my mum and so many women. But also growing up in South Africa, yeah, that's the accent you hear. I grew up in South Africa at the height of apartheid. I really got to see the impact of a scarcity mindset. I got to see an impact of where there's a global belief that there's not enough to go around. And so some people felt they had to hold on to the have, and they had to let other people not have access to that. I got to see that impact. And I knew that if I wanted to change that, if I wanted to help others break free of their cycle of poverty, I had to sort out my own money stuff first. So for anybody who's listening, if they want to help their kids, if they want to help their family, their community, you cannot help people if you don't come from an empowered place. You have to put on your own oxygen mask first. You've got to get yourself and your own well full before you can help everybody else. And so many people that, when I speak around, I'll say to people, would you love to help and especially mothers, would you love to help your children financially? And just 90% of people put their hand up and say, hell yeah. And I go, well, the best way you can help your children financially is to create your own financial freedom. That's where you've got to start. You've got to start with yourself. With so many other, and women often are the worst, believing that it's loving to look after everybody else, and they put themselves last. And we've got to break that cycle of almost martyrdom for women when we actually can say, actually looking after myself, making sure that I'm financially empowered, that I never am going to have to depend on my children or anybody else for my own financial well-being. That is the greatest gift I can give to those I love, because then from that place, not only have I taught them through my actions what it takes to be great with money and create their own financial freedom, but then from that place, then we can go and contribute more. Then we can do more of the things we love, and we can make a difference in our communities and our societies. So get really clear on your why, because that'll help you make the day-to-day decisions that you need to make around your money. Because this is the thing, our destiny is created not by these big events that happen in our lives, not by the big crossroads, it's not by the decisions of who we're going to marry or what job we're going to take or where we're going to live or what we're going to study and what career we're going to do. It's the day-to-day decisions we make about what we're going to choose to focus on, what we're going to choose to believe is possible, how we manage our money day-to-day, where we direct it, how we spend our time. That's how our destiny is created. And that comes down to its mindset and the behavior and getting really, really conscious, this wonderful consciousnness about how we live our lives.
Wow.
So absolutely key component.
No, that's a great answer you provided. It really is all about the people that are around you, association, and your why. And most people just do things not knowing why they're doing. And when you have that set, you can actually empower yourself and motivate yourself to move to the next step and continue and keep you, whether there's challenges or ahead of you, it motivates you to keep going. You provided so much information today, and I know you have a free gift for our audience. And so, would you like to tell us about that?
Absolutely. If anyone just want to pop over to thewealthchef.com, that's thewealthchef, as in like the cook.com. I've got some great giveaways where real kickstarters. One is the 12 keys to the wealth vault, and these are 12 key distinctions, key components you need to have to unlock these keys. Goes a little bit further into what we've covered today, a real great starter. But there's also a great free webinar series to get started investing on the stock market, and that is called Stocks for Procs. And that's a nice tongue-in-cheek, stocks from the stock market. But it's a webinar series just to break. So many people are really fearful of investing in the stock market, even though they might have 401ks. You're actually, or pension for those who are from the US listening to this. You're already invested in the stock market through any of those formats. So it's about understanding the kind of products I love. Index trackers. I think they're the juiciest, sexiest products out there that get more money working for you, not for some other dude that sells you a product. Your money works hard for you, and it's a great webinar series where you can download, watch those videos, get confident, and get started investing. So go over to that freebies page, get those downloads, and there's a whole lot of other tools and resources there as well to really get moving on this amazing journey to financial freedom.
That's great. And I will have all that information that you just wrote, your website, thewealthchef.com, and you can find all of Anne's profile in our site. And I want to thank you again, because you provided so many insight and information, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for joining us, Anne, today, and I want to wish everyone a fantastic day. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.